Alright, what's going on, you guys? So it's been a while since I did a video on this monster truck, so I figured it would be a perfect time to do an update video. I'll show you what I've got done. I got a little bit more work done. Not too much, because I've been doing more parts gathering than the work. Doing the work's pretty easy, doesn't take too long. It's getting the parts, that's what takes a long time. And if I have to make stuff, it takes up time too. As far as what I've done to the truck since the last video, not a whole lot. Suspension's pretty much in. I made up this little pedal right here out of aluminum. Come around, get a better look at that. I just made it out of aluminum. It's just like a dummy pedal to rest your foot on. That way you don't have to keep your foot above the brake pedal, accidentally hit the brake, because these things get bounced around a lot. Made a pedal riser for the accelerator pedal. Still got the mock-up lock in. I got to get around to putting the real motor in. I was waiting on a part. I'll show you that I finally got it, so now I can get the motor and really get cranking. Coming around to the other side of the truck, not a whole lot done here. Just power steering reservoir, got that mounted in. I got the oil accumulator mounted in. So what an oil accumulator does, that's made by Moroso. They have two different sides. One's, I believe, this is a 3-quart, means it holds 3 quarts of oil. I believe the other one's only a 1 quart. So the way that works is, it holds about 3 quarts of oil, and right up top, there's a Schrader valve, and you just pressurize it with air. You put about 60 pounds in, so that way when you open that lever right there, it forces oil. You can like prime the engine, or if the engine gets starved of oil, that'll pressurize it momentarily. So typically, I wouldn't put that there. I would mount this under the truck, and instead of using a manual hand valve, I put like an electric solenoid. But I put this here because I'm actually going to be running 2 of these. I started getting some of the wiring done. So that's about it for work on the truck. And I've also been making some parts like mounting little brackets, stuff like that. That small stuff, believe it or not, is what really takes the longest to me. Bolting into big stuff like axles, engines, and all that stuff, that only takes a few hours. So I'll show you some of the parts I've been picking up. Right here I found a set of spare front shocks. These are 26-inch travel race source shocks, same as what I use in the front. Rear of my truck's 30-inch travel, so the rear ones are a bit longer. And these were used. I bought the ones on my truck are brand new, but these 2 were used, so I figured grab them for spares, why not? And one other thing I want to show you is check out these axles right here. These things are huge. So these are planetary axles, and when I say planetary, you got your center differential right there, and then out here is planetary. That's what the wheel bolts to. There's an extra gear reduction in there. I think it's like 3.6 to 1. So everything is reduced at the wheel, so it takes all the strain off the axle shafts and everything. So you can get away with running a smaller axle than you would if you had no planetary, but axles are still huge. Look at these monsters. Those are the axles that come out of these. You can see they're huge. And then this is the other axle. So when I got these, I bought a set of 2. These come out of a big 20-ton crane. And these were mostly used on concrete. So what they did was they left all the gears and axles in this one. But on this one, you can see right there, they took all the gears and axle shafts out. So that way it wasn't 4-wheel drive because it was used on concrete. These things are so heavy. In order to get them off the truck, I used a skid steer. It barely lifted this one. But my skid steer would not even lift this. This axle wouldn't budge. My skid steer wanted to tip over. So that's why I took it apart on the bed of the truck. Made a real mess out of my truck and the shop. Oil everywhere. Here are some of the internal planetary parts. Right here, this is actually a really clean axle. These parts are brand new. So this thing was maintained, had very low hours on it. There are all the bolts and stuff. And these are the other parts I've been waiting on for a long time too. So right here are the spindles. So on a monster truck, that's what usually breaks. When you see the wheels go flying off, it's normally the spindle that breaks. So I had these spindles made up by a company called Race Source. They're billet chromoly, they're heat treated and coated. So I got 5. I got the 4 you see there, plus a spare right there. And there's just the stock spindle. So where these spindles usually break is like this area. So if you take a look right there, you can see these chromoly ones are way beefier and also a thicker flange. There's also extra bolts. because these spindles are made to bolt up to these knuckles. So these knuckles replace those. These are way stronger. These are made by a company called Gearhart Engineering. I waited a long time for these, but they're definitely worth the wait. The only other thing I'm waiting on from the same guy is a part called the Champagne. So the Champagne is this piece in here. It's called the Champagne because it's shaped like a champagne glass. Actually, I believe the technical name for that is a trunnion ball, but everybody just calls them champagnes. So I'm waiting on those from Gearhart Engineering. So that's kind of like another missing piece of the puzzle that once I get those champagnes, I can really get cranking on this thing. Now, the other part I've been waiting on, is preventing me from moving forward, like getting the engine and all that stuff in, was the transmission. And that's right here. So this transmission was made by Hughes. Hughes makes some awesome race transmissions. It's a Power Glide based. Really, there's not much Power Glide about it. Case is different, all the internals. It's got a trans brake right here. For anyone who doesn't know what a trans brake does, is it locks the transmission in first gear. You got these two wires right here. Hook them up to a button or a switch. As long as you got that button held with the transmission in low, transmission is locked. Release the button and the thing takes off like a shot. So this is a large input shaft transmission. It's got a much bigger than stock. Measures about 1.25 inches, and the material is way stronger than a stock one. These things almost never break. So this transmission is based off their XP4 Pro Mod transmission. It's rated for over like 4,000 horsepower. I think it's one of their strongest. They also make XP5, which is the same, but the input shaft has a piece for a lockup converter. So this is their strongest input shaft that they make. Strongest transmission. It's got a nice billet pump on it. So right here is the torque converter. This is also a Hughes converter. It's nice. It's got this billet ring welded to the bottom for the converter pads. So in my truck, I'm running a 3/8 thick motor plate in the front and the back. Most people run 1/4, but I prefer a 3/8. So they make these pads accordingly and they machine it out so everything fits perfect. And there's also 6 bolts to match up to different bolt patterns on your flex plate. Another thing too is where this goes into the pump. If you take a look, there's a flat machine right here, whereas normally there would be like a little U-notch on both sides. So I don't know why they do that. It's got to be better, otherwise they wouldn't bother. I believe Ford does it that way too on theirs. Right there you can see the billet servo cover. So this is an awesome transmission. A bit pricey. This thing's not cheap, but it's one of those things where I think it's cheaper to buy one expensive transmission right from the beginning than a bunch of cheaper ones. There were a few different transmission makers I looked at, like FTI, Cohen, and Abruzzi. But from my experience, Hughes has always made an awesome transmission. So now I got this, I can get the motor in, transmission transfer case, get the drive shafts made up, and this truck will be going soon. Alright, so this is pretty cool too right here. So these are just Moroso battery shutoff switches. And you have to run 2 of these, or you could run 1, but you have to have a battery shutoff switch located in the rear of the truck and also in cab. Some guys run 1 switch, but I prefer to run 2. But what's really cool about this is the bracket right here. So made by Race Source, and he cuts these out on a water jet. Holds 2 side by side. A little notch so you can weld to the tube. So that's pretty cool. He's also making me a set of billet arms. Alright, so that's about it for now. I was hoping to have the body here to show you that. I ordered it a while ago. They said about 4 to 6 weeks build time, and it's been about that, so it really should have been here by now, but it's whatever. It's a really cool body. It's a Chevy trophy truck, like a Baja truck, and it's made by a high-end company. So that'll be really nice. So I'll show you that when that gets here. And if anyone would like to see some wrenching videos, let me know. I'd be happy to do them. I know I got an RC car channel, but I figured it'd be cool. Throw something like this in there every now and then. So let me know if you want to see wrenching videos. I'd be happy to do them. So until next time, take care. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.